Hello, Sven, and hello, everyone. We will continue our journey through the updates, for sure, this time with CSM updates. But before we start with the updates on what's next with version 2, let's take a look at what we have in CSM today. And we have a pretty good numbers, I would say. First of all, we have 440 registered node operators, out of which 372 are actually active, which means that they either have active keys or they have depositable keys, which is a very decent result. And you might expect this discrepancy because of the permissionless nature of the module. It means that node operators can join and leave without asking for any permissions. So that's up to them. And anyway, 372 is a very good number, given that CSM has been launched only in November last year. So CSM is still younger than 1 year, and we are only about to celebrate its anniversary sometime in November this year. We have around 6,000 validators, and as Irina mentioned, it accounts for 0.5% of total Ethereum network being now operated by node operators in the community staking module, which is absolutely great, both for Ethereum and for Lido protocol for sure. All of these validators are protected with more than 10,000 STE worth of bonded tokens. And the part that I personally like the most is the performance. Even though the performance of the community staking module is not that brilliant as the performance of the other curated modules in Lido, it is still very close to network average, meaning that community stakers are fully capable to compete with the professional operators when it comes to performance. Now let's talk about what's up with CSM version 2 proposals and what things are worth highlighting since the last time we've met on the previous call. First of all is identified community stakers framework. The framework that is abuse and Sybil resistant by design, transparent to the community, comes with no mandatory KYC and allows for easy access, both for seasoned stakers and for the beginner stakers. And the purpose of this framework is for sure to identify community stakers, to figure out what node operators in CSM are actually community stakers and what are not, who are professionals or whatsoever. Because at the end of the day, it is not enough just to build a permissionless solution to ensure decentralization and Sybil resistance of the Ethereum network. It is also very important to understand who these operators are. So the ICS framework, or Identified Community Stakers framework, is the key. The framework itself is built on top of three pillars, which we call proofs. The first of them is proof of experience, the way or the information that will help Lido contributors and CSM community to figure out if this or that address belongs to an experienced validator, both on testnet and on mainnet. The second one is proof of engagement, the proof that helps Lido contributors to understand if the addresses provided belong to the person who is really involved in the system, who is really involved in staking, who is really involved in Lido ecosystem and staking ecosystem in general. And the last, but definitely not least, is proof of humanity. The way to prove that you are not just a pesky Sybil trying to create tons of operators and pretend to be multiple entities, but you are indeed an operator, an independent operator, a real human. If you want to learn more about Identified Community Stakers framework, you can scan the QR code on the screen and go straight to Lido Research Forum, where you will be able to find a more detailed description of that. But the main update that I want to share with you today about this system is actually the scores. So while the system itself has been proposed a while ago, the actual scores and the actual sources of these proofs were not disclosed because they were in development. And luckily, now we have them all and we can disclose them. So let's first talk about proof of experience. To prove your experience, you will have a variety of pathways. So first of all, your address might be included into either ETH stakers, solo stakers list, or stakecat solo stakers list. And if we're speaking about stakecat, both lists for Ethereum and Gnosis are accounted for. The other option is to have all technique, and depending on the level of the technique credential, either it is base, bronze, or silver, you will get different amount of points. You can be a verified SSV operator with the mark that you are a home staker or you are validating from home, and that would also give you a certain amount of points. But this is all mostly about experienced mainnet validators, right? What if you are not on the mainnet yet? Well, you can join CSM Testnet and participate with an acceptable performance for a while and get points for that. If you are already on CSM mainnet, well, great. It means that you already have a proof of experience, for sure, given that you've been performing well, and you will get points for that. And the last way is simple DVT. Both testnet and mainnet participation will also give you points here. Now let's talk about proof of humanity. And here, as it is proposed to use human passport or passport XYZ as the main source of proof of humanity. It is a well-known Sybil-resistant proof of humanity protocol where you can get certain amount of points depending on what score you will get within this application. But on top of that, you can also be a part of private Lido Circles group. And if you have never heard of Circles, I highly encourage you to Google about this project. This is an amazing project that basically implements the ideas of the real world finance, but on a blockchain. And it is the core idea of this project is trust between people. So if you are in the Lido private circle group, you will get additional points for that. And you can also provide your Discord and confirm the ownership of that, or your Twitter account and confirm the ownership of that. That's all about proof of humanity. And finally, proof of engagement, because engagement is essential. And it's a very good tool, actually, combined with the others to ensure Sybil resistance. So if you've been participating in Lido Aragon votes or Lido Snapshot votes, not with just one LDO, but at least with 100 LDO in the past, well, that's a good indicator of engagement, and you will get points for that. If you've been claiming Lido odds, which you will have a specific bonus on this call, you will be able to get score. If you are an active participant of Lido community, both on research forum and in Discord, thanks to an amazing application developed by, I wouldn't say former Lido contributors, but yeah, well, I can say former Lido contributors. Yeah, some of the developers of this application are indeed former Lido contributors. Well, using this application, you will be scored using a very sophisticated system that will analyze your activity both in Discord and research forum, and will grant you a score that might be converted into certain amount of points in this ICS framework. The next thing is Git collabs. And if you've been contributing to Ethereum aligned projects and you have Git collabs, cool, you will get scores for that. So that's the recap of the ICS scores. You can also find them on research forum. And now you have the idea of what you need to do or what sources you need to check to figure out if you have chances of being qualified as identified community staker. And I swear, if you are a real person, and if you've been active on Ethereum for a while and in a staking ecosystem for a while, even just on Testnet, it wouldn't be a problem for you to get identified as a community staker. Moving up next, and the next thing is release plan for CSM version 2. We are still at the very early stages of this thing, but again, that's the plan. We are in July 2025, and CSM Testnet will be launched soon. And after that, we will have a snapshot vote with all the stuff that I've explained to you about CSM V2. Then CSM version 2 grace period would start, which would allow people to get away from the queue if they want with no additional charges. But the grace period would also come with the share increase for CSM, meaning that the queue that we currently have for CSM validators would finally get processed. And then in the August, we expect the several audits that are currently ongoing for CSM to get finalized. And in the early September, we expect CSM version 2 mainnet release. Now let's talk about testnet, the main topic of our presentation today. So what you need to know about Testnet is these four basic things. First of all, no migration or no additional actions required from the current participants of CSM version 1 testnet, and the same would apply for CSM version 1 to version 2 transition on mainnet. No migration, no software update, no any actions. You can just enjoy version 2 experience with no actions, with no additional efforts. You will be able to try an updated CSM UI with a full set of new features that are absolutely cool, in my opinion. You will be able to start collecting your proof of experience points for testnet participation if you haven't been on mainnet or not in the other sources of proof experience. And for sure, you will help Lido contributors to make CSM even better, even more robust solution by reporting bugs on CSM UI, or just sharing your experience. How do you feel about CSM version 2? And the main question now is when the testnet is going to be launched. So the testnet for CSM version 2 on Hudi will be launched this Thursday, July 17th. So starting from this Thursday, you will be able to enjoy V2 experience on CSM testnet. And as I said before, there is a small bonus for you guys today. So we will definitely have our regular auth that we have on each and every community call that serves as one of the building blocks in your proof of engagement. But specifically because of the testnet launch, this week, we give you the opportunity to claim not one, but two auths on this community call. So go scan this QR code, and it will give you one additional point in Galax. And if you will have, I believe, at least 4 points in total on Galax, you will get the points in the identification system. So do not miss your chance. Do not wait for a long time. Just scan the QR code now. It's that simple. You only need to connect your wallet and claim this thing. And right after my talk, there would be another QR code. So keep your phones in your hands and claim both of them. And with that said, I will see you all on Testnet. I will be happy to answer all of your questions in Discord, on Lido Research Forum, or wherever else you will be able to find me. And thank you so much. In ETH, we trust.
Thanks, Dima. If we have questions, we have some questions now in the chat, actually. Are you ready for them?
Yes, I am.
There's a question from Daniel. He said, do you have connections to the authors of the list, so ETH stake or stakeout lists, so they can create a current version before CSM V2 goes live? So I'm guessing he's been very active right now, and curious if he's on the next iteration of that list. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, for sure. We are definitely in touch both with Stakeat and ETH stakers. So if the community is willing to ask them and to support them in this update of the list, I would definitely support that as well. The only thing to keep in mind is that creating and updating this list takes a lot of time and effort. So I will definitely reach out to both of the teams and ask them if they are able to update the lists on their side. And the more people from the community would support the same movement, the better the chances of them actually updating the list.
All right, thanks. And there's another question from Crimo999. I feel so old when I read out these names. So if the CSM limit share on the on-chain votes will pass, how long after that will the change actually be applied?
So the actual voting lasts, I believe, for 9 days now with dual governance enabled. And as soon as the vote gets quorum and gets sufficient support, and this 9-day period passes with no objections from STF holders at the very end, the effect will be applied immediately. And after that, the only limiter will be the actual flow of the deposits into the protocol and out of the protocol. So we cannot promise that right after the vote, the deposits would appear in CSM. But what can be said for sure is that any new deposit that will be allocated to the validator in Lido after the vote will be allocated to CSM just because of the mechanics and because of the state shares of the corresponding modules. So curated module is the default one, so it's always allocated last. And simple DBT is currently sitting at more than 3% of a share, meaning that up until the point when CSM is filled to 3% of Lido share, all of the new deposits will go to CSM, and that would start happening as soon as the vote is passed and as soon as new deposits arrive to the Lido protocol.
Yeah, thanks. So the deposits are obviously a very important factor, but let's hope for those to come in. Thanks, Dima.